Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, oh man, we're getting back to our friends we haven't spoken to a long time, although only one half. It's sort of like Simon, not Garfunkel. You kind of get Hall, but not Oates. You know, I kind of like breaking the teams up because then you get two guests, but let's just bring her in. Alyce from Force Toast from Force Toast. Nothing but Force Toast. Alyce, how you going?
Hey, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
It's been too long, man. I think what happened was that I had this whole assumption that, I'll see those guys at Celebration. And then we could talk about the great time we had at Celebration. And then we'll have all that stuff to talk about. And then, obviously, that doesn't happen. And then you just kind of lose touch, or you kind of, you go, well, I'll get back to them. But they've got their own stuff going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I already forgot Celebration was supposed to happen in July or whenever it was. And then I had so much time on my hands, but I was surprisingly busy feeling. And I don't know why, because I was fun employed for 11 and a half months.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, my company closed its office in December of 2019, and I thought, 2020 is going to be so much better. And I was saying, year of Alyce,
it wasn't even COVID.
Be awesome.
They just got ahead of the curve. They knew something you didn't.
Yeah, and then I had all these interviews that were final rounds and stuff, and then when March hit, they were like, "Oh, sorry, bye." So it was an experience, but that's okay. I can weather the storms.
Yeah, I got redundancy in August last year, but it wasn't COVID related. It was kind of COVID related. I can't go into too many details because of the company, but basically it was kind of COVID related because they couldn't hire any more people. So in order to get somebody in, someone had to go out, if you know what I mean. Like they couldn't just add another person.
Yep.
So we had two of my role. So there was kind of like, you guys have to reapply for your jobs. And then my partner she works in HR at the same company. And she just went, oh, well, actually, because of COVID, there's like a package for people who want to leave, like a payout. And gone, that's interesting. So I just was like, oh, you know what? I think I'll take the payout and I'll try and back myself to get a new job. And that's what I did. Yeah, so I did that. I took the payout and then got a job a few weeks later. So I got to keep the payout and then freelanced for a few months, and I've just started a new role a couple of weeks ago. So, but I'm still at home. Like you're at home. I'm at home. Like my new role's got people from all over Australia. Like they're all just at home. So I'm going, all right, you're just here.
Oh, that's amazing! Congratulations! So
Thank
exciting.
You. But because we had this big lockdown in Melbourne, we went for the elimination strategy. So when cases got sort of up to a couple of hundred a day, they shut the whole state down, particularly Melbourne. So it was like the harshest lockdown in the world. I think it was, you couldn't go within 5 kilometers of your house. You're going to leave your house for an hour a day for exercise. Schools closed, childcare's closed, you name it, everything was closed. And I just left my job. So and my partner was still working. So it was daddy daycare at our house.
That's nice though.
It was nice, but it's kind of, you go, the weekend's coming up. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's the same, and the playgrounds were closed as well, But having said that, we've been free and easy since Christmas, really. We've been opening slowly, but we're going to have the largest sporting crowd in the world since COVID on Thursday with 75,000. They reckon they'll get. So we've opened, our football season's opened. We're almost at capacity for football games. We've had no cases for a month now. And so, yeah. I feel so bad for everybody else.
Yeah, my dog and I are just stuck in my 1-bedroom condo, and we go on walks, but it was just winter here, so it was freezing.
Even colder than snow day at Celebration.
Yeah, when the wind chill's like 0 Fahrenheit, it a little chilly, and the dog doesn't want to be outside. I don't want to be outside, so we're inside. I'm getting a lot of trash TV in, marathoning everything, and
what's the go-to? What's the comfort trashed?
I'd say 90 Day Fiance on TLC, but I got inspired by WandaVision and actually realized I hadn't even seen 30% of the Marvel movies. So
Oh.
I binge watched all of them in less than a week.
Have you done the 4-hour Justice League yet?
I have not. I hadn't been interested in it, to be honest. I think Batman versus Superman or whatever kind of,
Burnt you?
yeah, turned me off.
Yeah, I watched it last week. It's long. It's better than the other. It's better than the other one. People are like, "Oh, it's so much character development." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's 4 hours long. Like, of course, there's got to be something's got to happen in 4 hours." Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I kind of going like, if they made a 4-hour Star Wars movie, would I sit through a 4-hour Star Wars movie?
Lord of the Rings, I'm down. I want to watch those again. But most other things, make it into a TV show, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, this could have, I kind of, I watched it over a couple of nights. So I just went, well, I'm just going to treat it like a TV show where I'll watch an hour and a bit. And it's kind of got these little chapters. So you can kind of go, oh, this is a good place to pause it and stop it. Because it kind of goes like chapter 2.
Yeah.
Batman does something. And then you kind of stop it. And then you can come back to it. So there are these actual points where you can just pause it on the tally and get on with your life and come back to it. But it was weird. Like, I just assumed that they'd put it in the movies here in Australia because the movies are open, but it didn't happen. So do it with a toilet break in between or something. But I had to ask you about your dirty cinema. What happened? Is it gone?
I have no idea because it's not nearby, and I had to take, or when I would go there, I'd have to take an Uber, and I don't know. I haven't kept up with them because for the most part, they haven't been open, and I don't feel like going to them. So, yeah, I'm hoping
it's going to be a casualty.
Yeah, there's one by my house that has a bar and these fried green beans that I like to put in honey mustard sauce. And I'm hoping once I get vaccinated that I can go back and they still have all of that.
So that's like the things that you do, that you think about, when you're just inside and like, well, when normality comes back, these are the little things that I like to do before then that I can just kind of get back to.
100%. And I love doing movies by myself.
Oh yeah,
I know it's not for everyone, but
no, I love it. Have you had the dream where you've gone and there's nobody in the cinema at all? Have you ever done that?
No, I mean, I've been to movies that are really sparse, but never totally solo.
That's the dream. Although I brought that up to somebody and they said, well, why? What, do you want to take your pants off or something? Like, what difference does it make if there's someone there? I'm like, oh, it's just like it'd be my own, like, I've almost got my own private cinema. Like, I went to, before I started this new role, I went about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went and saw Chaos Walking, the Daisy Ridley, Tom Holland one. It's based on some young adult movie. It got shot like after Force Awakens, and it's been sitting in like on the shelf for years because apparently it was terrible. Just brought. Oh, it was fine, but I hadn't been to the movies in a year. I think the last movie I'd seen was like Sonic the Hedgehog or something, just because it was on. And it was me, and there was like two other, and I went like 11 in the morning, and there was two other people in the screening, so that was close. But then the guy, like one of the guys, sat directly in front of me and was on his phone. I'm just like, what are the chances of in this whole thing? You could sit anywhere else, and I've got to still look at the back of your head, and I've got to look at your stupid phone.
Bummer.
I know, but it was still nice to just go. It was still nice to go to the movies, being like, that was good. Like, well, they just announced today that Black Widow is going to be on streaming. They're going to put it on Disney Plus. So, our little crew here in Melbourne was just going, oh, well, what does that mean for us? Will they still put it in the cinemas here? So I think they will. I think we'll get, because they did that Raya the Last Dragon here. You could go to the cinema and watch it, or you could pony up, I don't know, what was $30 or something to watch it at home.
Yeah, I think they just announced today that it was pushed back to July 9th, at least in the US. So. Yeah.
Oh, look, I think they have to just do it everywhere here. So I think they might do it. Maybe they'll do it for, like, it's in the cinemas for a week here, and then you can go watch it at home. But I'll go. If I can go to the movies, I'll go to the movies, and a Marvel movie as well. And but what was your favorite after you did the marathon? Was there any that you kind of like stuck out, or does it feel like it just blurred into one big long Marvel blur?
Oh, it kind of blurred in. I really loved the very first one. I watched them chronologically, so the Captain America. I I liked, I think maybe the second Avengers. Black
Oh, Age
Panther's
of
very
Ultron. That's
good.
what everybody hates.
I mean, my favorite Star Wars is the Clone Wars. So, or
What, the Clone Wars movie?
sorry, Attack of the Clones. Oh my gosh,
Ah.
It's been a while since I've actually watched a Star Wars movie. I've been focused on reading, and or Mandalorian is the only
Attack of the
main
Clones
TV
is just
show.
Spot the Australian soap actor, because it was all shot in Sydney in sort of
Yeah.
2000. So it's all for Australians. You just go, oh, there's that guy from Neighbours. There's that guy from Home and Away. There's that person, who, and then you go, like, oh, there's Rose Byrne. She became really famous. Or Joel Edgerton. He became really famous. And then there's like some other random person. There are actually most of the names in there. There are names, like they're Australian names, and some of them have gone on to do other things, obviously. But that's always. Like, I'm kind of hoping, because they've built the volume in Sydney, and they're going to be shooting. Like, I think they're shooting the new Thor in Sydney and stuff as well. So more stuff's going to come there. So we're going to go through this all again. We're going to get a second renaissance of, like, spot the Australian actors in Marvel and Star Wars stuff. It's going to be great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I loved Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, Captain Marvel soundtrack was amazing.
Is that your jam? 90s jam?
Oh yeah,
You're a bit
I'm all
younger
about
though,
90s.
aren't you? You're a bit younger than me though, but yeah.
Maybe. I look real young.
I never ask. You never ask. Never ask a podcaster their age.
I never ask a lady their age.
Well, and that too.
I'm very classy.
So Ragnarok, did you like, because Taika Waititi, who did Ragnarok, he's going to do Star Wars. Was that kind of like, oh, I like this vibe. Everything's a little bit silly. Everything's a little bit, it's the same, but it's a bit off kilter.
I love that. I mean, I really liked, oh my gosh, my brain is just What We Do in the Dark. Is that what it is?
Oh, What We Do in the Shadows?
Or What We Do in the Shadows. Jeez. What We Do in the Shadows, Jojo Rabbit. I love his sense of humor. I think.
Have you seen the show
funny.
What We Do in the Shadows?
I have watched it.
There's a show that he's done with Jermaine from Fly the Conchords called Wellington Paranormal, which is it's like a police mockumentary set in Wellington in New Zealand, and it's a couple of police officers who investigate spooky happenings in Wellington. And it's a very similar vibe to, it's that very dry New Zealand, we're very straight, well, strange things are happening all around us kind of thing. So it's very much that vibe. I don't know how you can watch it in America, but it's on TV here in Australia. We've just started watching it. We're a little bit behind. But it's great. It's really funny. It's just that similar vibe of just like, okay, I'm not going to do a New Zealand accent. People will get cross with me if I try. And I'm probably closer to most who attempt it, given that I'm Australian. Our accents aren't a million miles away, but I won't attempt that. But like in the case of like Star Wars, like if he's doing Star Wars, do you want to see that kind of, are you ready for a bit of a off-kilter Star Wars?
Why not? I mean, I'm open to anything, and especially I love anything new that we wouldn't expect, like the High Republic books. I mean, they're something else. I'm obsessed with having something new.
This is good that I've got you on, because I don't have time to read High Republic books, unfortunately, or books. But, was it... I mean, you try to read everything, anyway, because you're a bookie, you're a book person. What were your expectations going in? Were you just like, oh, this has got to be good, or you're like, well, I'll give it a little shake and see how it goes? Like, if you'd just read it and it seems like you enjoyed it, would you be sticking with it anyway, even if it didn't kind of thrill you?
Yeah, I think I would for the most part. There are only a few things that I haven't made myself go through. From a certain point of view, Empire Strikes Back, the short stories are not short at all, and I'll finish it eventually. I think
this cover's lying to me right here. It says short stories.
Yeah, I think one of them is an hour long or more. And yeah, exactly. So Alphabet Squadron, for example, I don't like space fights unless it's Thrawn, who's talking strategy and logic stuff throughout the entire time.
He's like, they painted something blue, so that means they're going to attack from the rear. Don't you understand that? You're all idiots. I'm the smartest.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we get the big surprise where it has space battles, but I'm making myself get through them. I'm just way, way behind, although I'm almost done with Victory's Price. And for the most part, I'll power through anything new, but I was super excited about High Republic. because I love Jedi stuff and Force stuff and just, I mean, really anything Jedi I'm happy about.
Yep.
And I was really excited about the process that they used to build out this universe or this new
Sort of like team
era.
effort kind of thing. And
Yeah, and all of those authors are amazing. You know,
do
I've
you
read.
reckon it was? Do you reckon the High Republic what that those Game of Thrones guys movie was going to be? Like, do you think that's kind of where the gestation started, and then they kind of just went, oh well, we can't use these guys anymore because they suck, but the idea is still kind of good. Let's just do it at an author level and try to build it back up again.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that, to be honest. But I was shocked when they announced the High Republic was only 200 years earlier, to be honest. I thought it'd be way back in the day. And I've been hoping, I love history and nonfiction. Clearly, Star Wars is fiction, but I
To
love
most people.
history. Yes. Oh, that's a whole nother thing. But I love reading about old back in the day stories. And I was really excited about this. When I heard it was only 200 years, I was a little disappointed because I thought, oh, is that old enough?
Are they going to lean on too much stuff we know as well?
Mhm.
They can't cut that cord, man. Well, it's just funny
Exactly.
because that is it. The Acolyte, the show is going to sort of hit the end of the High Republic,
Hmm.
which is quite interesting. So it's almost a bit like, oh, you've already pasted yourself an end point. But hey,
Yeah.
you know, we've got 30 years of Star Wars timeline that they've crammed almost everything into. So if they've got 200 years and it takes off, it's like, well, you know, we can shift some stuff in there anyway. So it seems like you're really digging it then.
Oh, I love it. I've read all 3 books, even the middle grade reader loved it. Both sets of comics. I actually like the younger kid comic, or I think it's called High Republic Adventures. I'm
Oh, yeah.
enjoying that one more than the main High Republic or the more grown up one.
I
To
have
be
read the
honest.
comic. That's the only thing I've read is the comics. With the green guy with one arm going crazy, and
Scare.
the twins, and there's like some monster down a hole now, and yeah. So I've got the general gist of it. It's good. Like, it's good. It's like, all right, it's more Star Wars. Like, bring it on. Like,
Yeah, they can stand alone pretty well. And I mean, I definitely recommend if you can do audiobooks, maybe doing that. They can stand alone pretty well. And High Republic, I believe, is going to be multiple phases over several years. And I really like how this first phase of the initiative, everything starts around the Great Disaster-ish and everything ends around Starlight Beacon opening. So we're very set in these time frames and lots of characters introduced, a ton. So anyone reading this, don't worry about
yeah, that's
remembering
been
all of
a
them.
lot of people have said that, kind of like, hey, I'm enjoying it, but it's just like a lot of information. But it's like, well, hey, hard part's over now. Once you bed, like you said, you've bedded these events that people can relate to and the characters, you can actually shoot off, and it gets easier because you don't have to lean so much or just bringing so much in.
Yeah, you just remember, like Skier is mentioned a decent amount in Light of the Jedi, and you have a little bit of background on him, but then you get a ton of him in the comic. So even though he's kind of ambiguous in Light of the Jedi, you still remember his pieces because they were important to an extent, but you don't need it to enjoy the comic.
Do you play the video games at all?
I do.
Do you like Fallen Order and all that kind of stuff? And so I reckon this, because they've sort of said, because EA has kind of lost their grip on Star Wars stuff now, and they're going, all right, well, they're going to do some stuff. We're going to let other people make stuff. And they've got, I can't remember the name of the company. I'm shocking with companies, but they're going like, we're going to finally do that open world Star Wars one you've all wanted. We're doing the Red Dead Redemption of Star Wars, or whatever it is, or Ghost of Shimura, or whatever where they're doing that open world. Like, I reckon like High Republic is prime for that. Like, that is because there is so less dependencies on, if they're going to everything's canon. They don't have to try and stick it in between Return of the Jedi and Mandalorian and be like, well, we can't have Luke Skywalker in this because Luke Skywalker in this. We can't have Leia because of you could just put it there. And also, you put it in that time zone, you get a whole new bunch of fans getting into that because half the crap that people ask for in Star Wars is like, well, it was in the video game, or wouldn't it be great if it was Force Unleashed, or it wouldn't be great if it was Dark Forces, or Knights of the Old Republic, and blah blah. Like, if you get those fans, getting, because they might be like, oh, I don't want to read stupid books, it's all whatever. But if you get them into that thing, like all of a sudden you've got a whole new fan base of stuff excited about that as well. And you get the crossover, and then when they start eventually going, all right, we're going to start doing some live action stuff, people are like, yeah, man, just like the game.
Well,
like, just like the book.
Yeah, I think, well, for the record, my favorite Star Wars game is the PS2 Battlefront 2. I just think it's excellent.
PS2. I had the PSP Battlefront 2, I think it was, or Battlefront 1. I had a PSP for some reason back in 2004 or 2005 or whatever.
Yeah, I think Battlefront 2 was on, it must have been 2005 when it came out, because it was after.
That sounds about right. I bought it from a guy in London who bought it. I got it from a mate who got it from a guy in London that was cheaper than it should have been. So I'm not quite sure where it came from. But he's like, do you want one? I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll get one.
Yeah, that was the very first video game I learned how to do the dual joystick, because I had just thought it was super confusing otherwise. And I was joking with my friends. I said, okay, I'm going to play and I'm going to ruin all of your scores and progress because I'm just going to fail so hard. And then I started getting into it, and it just started making sense all of a sudden. And they were like, oh my God, you're better than me. And I was like, yes.
Like, see the Matrix and stuff, all the numbers started like clicking into place.
Yes. But I think Jedi Fallen Order did a really great job as far as just world building, and you can walk through it in kind of basic adventure mode if you want, but you at least have an idea of where you're going and what you're dealing with. So it helps.
Those boss fights just did me in. But I'm usually not too bad at games, but my parrying was just garbage, so I would just get hit all the time. And I've been playing Ghost of Shimura on PS4, which is similar vibe, and it's got parrying as well. And for whatever reason, I can do that fine on that one. And I'm tempted to go, maybe I should go back to Fallen Order, and maybe my skills will transfer, but it could be a completely different button combination. I could just get I finished it, but I felt like, I kind of wasn't as good at those boss fights as I should have been. Yeah,
the final one was really rough for me. I'm a big button masher, and I loved the lightsaber throw. That was clutch.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So, God, I'm just trying to remember. I think you guys were on, it definitely wasn't last year. I feel like it was
probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah, which is crazy because, we still interact online and, but then every now and then you just look back and you go, who haven't I had on the podcast for a while? Like, I haven't had Laura and Alyce on for ages. God, no, I haven't had them for a really long time. And I've, to be honest, last year, because I wasn't out every week anyway. I know you guys record every other week anyway, but I was weekly, and then it just, too hard. I'll just do it next week, or this has come up and it's only podcasting. Nothing's going on. Who cares? All that kind of stuff.
Totally.
You drop, and then as soon as like Mandalorian comes out, interest peaks, you're like, I've got to get something out every week and do that. But I think we were talking sort of Rise of Skywalker stuff. That's how far back we went. But did you guys go together, like opening night?
The second time
we went
together.
So you'd both seen it already.
Mm-hmm. And I don't remember why we decided to go separately. I think it's because I really wanted to go to the Dirty IMAX and Laura didn't.
Laura refused.
Yeah, I refused.
She's like, rather than an awkward conversation, let's just go to the second time. Right?
Exactly. So I got a ticket to, there's right down the street, like 2 blocks away. It's more of an art house theater, but every now and then they have, if it's really big, they'll have it. Yeah. So I just went there, and I think we went to the Dirty IMAX the next night or 2 nights after. And yeah, I mean, I had fun. I laughed. I'm a prequel person, so it's fine.
So did you go, sort of watching it and then going the next night with Laura? Were you both kind of just like, here we go again? Or, it was fine. Let's watch it again and get a second opinion. And, or were you just kind of like, I can't wait to see this again? Or you're like, I want to see what she thinks.
Kind of a combination. I think I found it more humorous the second time around, because I noticed details I hadn't before, like when Claude is just sitting and they're like, "Have you fixed it yet?" And he's just like, "Ooh," you know, and I'm just like, "What are you doing with those antennae? You can't hold a wrench. You have no opposable thumbs. How are you doing this?" And it cracked me up for some reason. And I just laughed so hard. And Laura laughed too. But she was actually taking notes on a little notepad because we were talking with like Matt and Sean later. And Blue Bantha Milk. And she was taking notes to make sure she remembered things. And I was just along for the ride.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we watched it, because we have midnight screenings here in Australia, and we're ahead. We get a day or two ahead. So we'd seen it, I think, on like Wednesday. And I think you guys were still 2 days behind before it came out in the States. It was some kind of really big, because traditionally Australia was the arse end. We get everything late, but because our opening days are Thursday midnight, you get it Wednesday, and anyway. But I just remember that because it was midnight, so it's 2:30 in the morning by the time you come out of the cinema, and that movie, especially the first half, just goes like they go from here to here to here to here to here. I just like, oh, what is going on? Like, I'm just trying to follow it. It's just like, all right, they got the knife, the magic knife's you got to look at the thing, and then all right, they've gone. They've lost the Falcon. They got the Falcon back. They got Chewie. They've lost Chewie. They got that back. Rey's lost this stuff. She says it doesn't matter, but now it does matter. So they go get these other things. And it was just, then they're on the Death Star. And it was, so the second time around was a lot easier to sort of just take in because you're just going, all right, well, I've got the gist of I know where this goes. But is it like, where does it sit for you? I don't know if do you rank stuff or do you just kind of go?
I'm not big at ranking because I don't know. It's just not my thing. But Attack of the Clones is my favorite. Revenge. So
is that just a formative years kind of thing? Is that just like I saw it at the right age kind of thing when I got in? That got me in.
No. So I actually got in from the Ewok movies, and because those were
coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Magical, but we used to steal Disney Channel. We had in the 80s some weird flip box thing where you could do switches because they used to charge for Disney extra.
Of course I did. They're Disney.
And we stole it, and the Ewok movies were on all the time, and I loved them.
They came in the first one came out in the cinema in Australia.
I know. I saw
Caravan of Courage. Yeah, I saw Caravan of Courage in the cinema, and then Battle of Endor was a really weird one because it was sort of almost like an urban legend. So it was dark. Sort of people said that they'd seen it, and they're like, "Oh, did you like in the Ewok one? Like the family gets killed." I'm like, "No, they wouldn't do that to the." And then finally, it turned up in the video store, and it's got this amazing. Have you ever seen the VHS cover for Battle of Endor? It's amazing. It's really like it looks like a Star Wars, like it's all illustrated, almost like a Ralph McQuarrie thing. And there's like the aliens got like a big gun on the front, and it looks you're like this is gonna like battle. They're gonna battle for Endor. The stakes have never been higher. Forget that Return of the Jedi. I finally saw it, and
it's really dark the first few minutes of it, but I was just excited because I was a little girl, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this little girl's doing awesome things, and look, they're puppet teddy bear things, and like, awesome.
Well, my daughter's 5, and she's big into Disney Plus. She loves Disney. Like, we're getting our money's worth on Disney Plus, but she's like, Frozen is where it's at still, and she started watching sort of other things. She likes the new DuckTales and other stuff, and I'm kind of going. And she likes Star Wars because she knows I like it, so she takes a passing interest. Like, she likes Forces of Destiny. She loves those shorts and stuff.
Yeah.
But she hasn't sat down and watched a movie. We watched the Lego thing, and she was sort of somewhat interested. But I'm kind of going, Caravan of Courage might be the way in.
Yeah.
She's only 5 now, so
she can handle it. That one's good. It's kind of like Return to Oz vibes.
The Return to Oz is a nightmare. Return to Oz is a nightmare fuel. But
like a child version.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's kind of weird, dark, but also just bizarre, and you're like, what? I love that movie too. Hey, Fairuza Balk. But I started watching the original Star Wars, and I saw them in the re-releases and all of that, and then I got like Stockholm syndromed into Attack of the Clones because I used to babysit this family of 3 children all the time, and they knew I liked Star Wars, and the only DVD they had was Attack of the Clones. So every time,
today, guys.
Yeah, every time I went over, they were like, Alyce, like, can we watch Attack of the Clones and play Pokemon Stadium? And I was like, yes, we can. I'm down.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So when Kathy Kennedy comes out on that stage and she's like, we got this TV show, we got this TV show, we got this TV show, we got this movie, we got this thing going on. Like, you thought there was nothing, we've got everything. Like, what was the thing where you were like, you piqued my interest, madam?
Hello there. Seriously? Kenobi, of course.
Yeah.
I love my Ewan McGregor, who's about to turn 50 next week.
Oh my God.
I know. Crazy.
How old was Alec Guinness in Star Wars, roughly? Was he in his 70s by then, or his 60s?
Probably his 70s. He was pretty old.
I'm just trying to marry up the,
So my headcanon is as follows. Lots of sun causes wrinkles, and there are 2 suns on Tatooine, as we know. And then also maybe all the sand kind of functions as a weird sandpaper. So he's got the crazy aging from too much sun and no sunscreen. And then the sand hitting him in the face also does no favors.
Because, 1914 he was born. So that makes him 63, I guess, when Star Wars comes out. Probably 61 when they shot it. 62, 61, 62. So he's only 11 years older than Ewan McGregor is now when he shot Star Wars. 12. We'll say 12.
Yeah, but they didn't have the plastic surgery technology.
Alec Guinness. I think Alec Guinness fought in a couple of world wars as well. At least one of them. So
yeah, that'll do it. But Botox, fillers, all of like the superfoods and specialty trainers. I don't think that was a thing.
Could you imagine Alec Guinness just kind of rocking up? And all of a sudden, his face is just like all Botox and plastic. He's like,
"Oh my gosh!"
Oh, no, I've always looked like this. Like Alec, I think he was wearing a rug in Star Wars as well. Like I'm pretty sure he's been bald for most of his life as well. So he had a little bit of a vanity thing going on. He still had a little hairpiece going.
Why not? I'm all about do whatever you want. I'll probably do something one day. So,
like, I can't be throwing stones in case I get to 63 and I need to wear a rug. Just
well, hopefully I don't have that, and I've never heard it called a rug before.
I never heard that before. Maybe that's an Australian expression. At least you knew exactly what I was talking about. Though. Like, oh yeah,
context. All about context.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that Obi-Wan's going to go off planet in this show anyway. That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm still in the boat of they're going to follow the Kenobi novel.
Do you reckon this is like a post-COVID decision? They're like, we can't have a show about a guy sitting at home for 20 years doing nothing. Like people have just been living like you're like basically at home looking out for Luke Skywalker for the last year, not doing anything. Like, do you want to sit down and watch Ewan McGregor just sitting around the house watching trash TV?
I just want to watch Ewan McGregor, to be honest. And have you read the Kenobi novel?
No, I've read the comic. I don't know if they're still canon anymore. There were some comics that came out recently that was like the Diary of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and there was a bit of like, he's have a few run-ins with Owen Lars and stuff like that, and telling him to mind his damn business. And
yeah, the book is pretty action-packed. We find out about how he gets his EOP. And also there's a really cool scene at the beginning where when he has baby Luke, he stops at a bar before dropping him off at the Lars homestead, but it was
this is like the Lumini Lands kind of thing. So what ship does he take? Does he get dropped off? Who drops him off? Does he get dropped off by someone? Because Yoda had his like little, like
I'm gonna go with Bail Organa, just dropped in there. But in the novel, one of my favorite parts is at the very beginning. He's at a bar and there's like an Empire, like hologram news, or I don't remember what exactly they call it. And Vader shows up and he just flips out, like whips out the lightsaber, just goes crazy in the cantina, and then is like, because he realizes Vader's still alive and thought he was dead, and then just walks
Right. So he's
away.
in the suit and stuff, is he? So he already can tell from that.
Hmm. Well, he knows from the recording at the Jedi Temple that Palps like dubbed him
Oh,
Darth
calls him
Vader.
Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll still do that. Like, I kind of feel like the kickoff point for this show could just be that he finds out Darth Vader's alive. Like that's where, like, I always kind of had the theory that the show, probably when I thought it'd be set in Tatooine, well, that it would be when the Empire finally just turns up in Tatooine. Like, they just get around to getting to Tatooine because it's the arse end of the galaxy. So then he goes, the Empire's here. Are they here for me? Are they here for Luke? Do they know anything? Have they just gotten here? Have they just happened to randomly decided that it's time to start having a presence here? And that kind of kicks him into gear to start sort of going, all right, I better get my house in order.
Yeah, I'm wondering how Hayden Christensen is going to be incorporated. So in the Legends novel, a lot of it, there's this like Oregon Trail type family general store that plays a big role in it. And also the Tusken Raiders play a big role. And there are a lot of scenes where he's in such distress over Vader / Anakin still being alive and feels so much guilt that he's trying to communicate with Qui-Gon a lot of it, and just kind of like, why won't you answer me? Why haven't I figured out this trick yet that, Yoda was able to figure out? So it's pretty cool.
I think I think a sneaky Liam Neeson cameo isn't out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I'm down with it. I love me some Liam Neeson. A very particular set of skills and all that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they've just got, like, talking about like going off planet. Like, maybe they've gone, we've maxed out our Tatooine on Mandalorian now. We've gone back a couple of times. We've gone to the cantina. We've done the Sand People. Like, if we do another show where it's just back in that desert again, although it's different, people like yourself are like, whatever, I don't care, I'll watch it regardless, and myself. But other, the more casual fans, like, didn't we just watch this show about some dude trapping around the Tatooine desert, going to the wacky bar and doing everything?
Yeah, and the planet that I still want to know about the most, I think, is Tatooine. I mean, sorry, Jesus, is Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, I know in the books what's going on there, but I want to see it for myself. So I'd be very interested because I think like Maz Ameda is running it. And I want to see Coruscant some more. I love Coruscant and Naboo. I want to see Naboo some more. I was hoping Rise of Skywalker would end there. Obviously didn't. But those two planets I love, love, love. So I
reckon that's why the Bad Batch is actually could be quite interesting, because it's kind of that post, I think, like, I don't know exactly, but it's kind of like just after that Clone War stuff all goes down. If you actually get a bit of a sense of what their next move is, if they, even just in regards to clones, they're like, all right, well, do we keep these clones around? Do we ship them off to a great big container somewhere? We turn them. Do they become stormtroopers? Do we get rid of them? Like, how does it actually work? Like, what's the plan here? Have they served their use? They've served their usefulness? And then, like you said, that just like Coruscant thing. Like, how do we control that? Like, now we're out. We're with the Empire now. We're not the Republic anymore. Like, we want to go crack some heads and do stuff, or do we just slowly ease into that? It feels like it's like a 20-year process nearly, because they, like in Star Wars, they talk about like, we've just got rid of the Senate. Like, it took them 20 years to just sort of slowly phase all that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I haven't thought about the Bad Batch too much, to be honest, because I don't know, and I want to be surprised, and when you have too much headcanon going on, sometimes it can lead to negative things. But I'm excited to see where we go. I mean, Coruscant, we saw a little bit of it in Aftermath, I think, and some of the little side stories that were embedded all over the place. And then it comes up a few times in Alphabet Squadron in the last two books. I'm not done with the third book yet, but it's mentioned, I believe, a little bit in the second book. And it starts to be mentioned again in the third. So
do you reckon that's why they moved the capital from Coruscant, just so they could blow it up and keep Coruscant?
Oh, they can't blow it up. But it was under so much Empire control for so long. And I don't remember if we figure out what happened to Masameda. if that's, I don't know if that
Yeah,
pronunciation's right.
like in Force Awakens, you know how they blow up the capital, they blow the New Republic up, but they conveniently
Yeah.
moved them all off Coruscant. So they're kind of like, hey, we still got Coruscant as a thing that exists in Star Wars because we didn't blow it up.
Yeah, I think they wanted a fresh start, to be honest, but I don't know. I don't recall exactly why they moved it, and it could have been from just Mon
Bad
Mothma
vibes.
was like, yeah, bad vibes, bad
A
memories.
lot of baggage on this planet.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't recall the exact reason anymore. I think in Bloodline they maybe would have mentioned it, but I'm curious about it. It's got so much potential with all the levels and all of the different backgrounds, and I mean the whole planet's a city. So
So do you want to see Obi-Wan and Vader face down again? Does it seem weird to
no,
you? Does it feel like it's kind of like, because they're kind of going, oh, it's going to be the rematch of the century or whatever they've talked about. I'm kind of going, we kind of had that. We had the rematch of the century in Star Wars. Like that was the rematch, wasn't it? Like kind of like the 20 years of going your own separate ways rather than kind of randomly bumping into each other halfway through.
yeah, I think it'll be in flashbacks because saying Vader is kind of ambiguous, right? At the end of Revenge of the Sith, he was Vader before he was in the suit. He was Vader the last time Obi-Wan faced him. So referring to him as Vader could be referring to him as Anakin at any point in time, technically, right?
From a certain point of view.
Yes. Nice one.
Yeah, that's the way to get out of everything.
Totally.
So what about some of that other stuff? What about like New Republic Rangers or the Ahsoka show or what else is there? Boba Fett, Acolyte. I mean, the Acolyte we sort of touched on already, but
yeah, Acolyte I'm super stoked for because I think that's when we're gonna see the Sith return. And
yeah,
but part of that is I have a bias from reading the Plagueis book, and his master had a master and they were very old, so the timeline would line up if they kept it, because I remember reading Plagueis and thinking, wow, they'd only need to make a few tweaks and it would fit with current canon. So I don't know. And also in the Aftermath series, I think they refer to this really like cult-like group has the acolytes who, you know, are like, oh, let's worship the Sith saber and all of this stuff. Yeah, so I'm interested to see where that goes the most, apart from Kenobi for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I'd be excited about Boba Fett. I never cared about Boba Fett until this last season of The Mandalorian, because
it's pretty common thing people have said, that just like he's actually been given a little bit of depth, and you know, you know, he's not just a dude in a mask who kind of looks cool.
Yeah, well, I didn't care about him looking cool. I mean, it wasn't cool looking to me ever. And, you know, from the original trilogy perspective, you know, he was just like a gag reel clown. You know, it's like, whoa,
a rodeo clown.
Yeah.
A rodeo clown with a jetpack.
Exactly. That was exactly it. And then in Attack of the Clones, he was just this annoying little kid who was probably traumatized from seeing his dad's head chopped off. In the Clone Wars cartoon, he was just annoying little
angry
brat.
Little kid.
Yeah. So I never had any attachment to him. And I understand, you know, like, oh, he looked so cool in the original trilogy and getting an attachment from that. I was talking with one of my friends about Vader a long time ago and just said, why does everyone think he's so cool? He kind of sucks and barely moves in the original trilogy. And he just said, well, yeah, when I was little watching it, I just thought he was this, you know, scary, magical being, you know? And I think it depends on when you watch things of what you put importance on. And then from a nostalgia standpoint, you just maintain it no matter what, which is
And he's got a lot of baggage of some fans that like him as well, which doesn't, not all, you know what I mean? Like you kind of go, there is a group of fans that like, you know, and that always kind of colors a little bit. Like I feel the same. Like I found him, I didn't mind him. I had a Boba Fett little Kenner action figure back in the day. That's somewhere under a house somewhere probably. But yeah, he's definitely more interesting now. And I think a lot of that goes to Tamara Morrison, who just sort of brings a bit of gravitas, a bit of gruff to it. And, you know, you kind of go, ooh, he's seen some stuff. He's in, like, I want to see what he does now. And also that, like, he's doing stuff. It doesn't hurt when you do
Exactly.
some stuff. Yeah.
And he's doing cool stuff. He dropped a seismic charge, which is my favorite noise ever. And I loved it. I mean, I was shocked because Laura and I used to always joke about how he was just a clown and we hate him. And then after he showed up in Mando, we were just like, we stand Boba Fett.
There's the hang on, I've lost my train of thought. Then I was just like talking about just like in regards to Mandalorian, like where were you guys like when it ended? Like, did you see that Luke Skywalker? Like, did you spot that a mile off, or were you just sort of going, they won't really do it, will they? Will they?
I had avoided any type of spoilers and speculation during season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw the X-Wing come in, just logically, it didn't make sense that they would bring in someone random. They're
Yeah.
not going to bring in Cal Kestis or Ezra or, there are all these characters the general audience, or sorry, there are all these characters that the general audience has no clue about. So it wouldn't make sense to bring anyone except for Luke, really. And I was shocked and I was fine with it. I loved it. I love lightsaber Jedi stuff. So
Yeah.
all good by me.
It was always I've said this a couple of times when we've talked about it on here, and said it was story wise, it always made perfect sense. It was always the real life, like getting Hamill, or do you recast him, or do you digitally do it, and is it going to be weird and blah 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 blah. Like stories wise, it always kind of made sense to me. And then going, oh, like they really got him on there, and they got the Alec Guinness Botox on his face, and they digitally popped him there and did it. So yeah, like I'm a little concerned of where the story goes now. Like if you remove Baby Yoda from the story, because like one hand it's like, well, it's a perfect payoff. It kind of puts a nice little bow on it, but at the same time it's like, well, a lot riding on that Baby Yoda. You move him out of the equation, you've just got a bunch of Mandalorians fighting amongst themselves, and like my partner, she doesn't care about that. She wants more Baby Yoda, man. Mm-hmm. That's why she sits through Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's the case for a lot of people, really, or a lot of just kind of casual viewers, I think. But I feel the book of Boba Fett is going to steer us into the direction of Mando 3. Mm-hmm. And what that direction is, I don't know. If they do go back to Mandalore, I'm very excited about that, because last time I think Bo-Katan had referred to it, or someone had referred to it as a planet of glass or something like that.
It's like a shithole, basically, isn't it?
It's yeah. And we saw a little bit in Rebels from when Sabine went back to her family, but that was also, pre-Battle of Yavin. So I'm curious, especially from the Siege of Mandalore stuff in the Clone Wars cartoon, but they still need to make it accessible to a general audience.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I have no idea. And, when we get closer, I'll probably read some speculation stuff, but we have until December before Book of Boba Fett comes out. And I generally, sometimes I avoid spoilers. It just depends. But for the most part, I keep an open mind, and I know I'm not going to like everything, but I'm still going to watch it anyway. And I can appreciate. It's not the end of
the world if you don't, because especially the world we live in now, where it's like, well, there'll be another thing coming out in a few months anyway. It's not like back in the day where it was 15 years between movies, and then even when you got a trilogy, it was 3 years between movies. Mm-hmm. Like even in the sequel trilogy, like Force Awakens came out, we had Rogue One come out the next year.
Yes.
So it's like, geez, man. Like, and I think like Last Jedi and Solo was 5 months or something. Like we live in a world where there was 2 Star Wars movies in 5 months.
Exactly.
Like, stop your moaning. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, and if I don't enjoy, I understand if people enjoy things I don't. Like Star Wars Resistance. Was it for me? No. Was it for someone? Yeah. If you really liked it, sure. I found things I enjoyed about it. I watched it just because I want to be up to date in the canon, essentially.
Well, I was just going to ask that. I mean, this is probably not a question for you. This is probably a question for Garfunkel, not Simon. But I will, we'll touch on, Laura being the quiz master and stuff. Like, is it hard for her because she's got to know everything pretty much, that she has to go like, I really don't want to watch this. It's not really my bag, but I have to sit here and watch it anyway? Or is it just sort of, even she's like, well, if I learn about it, then that's how I get the enjoyment of having to sit through something I don't particularly jive with?
Yeah, so the Schmodown is very particular in how it functions in general, and also how the questions are asked and what types of questions are asked.
Right.
So it's really interesting that this year there are a lot of Dragon Con people, because you have to learn how to play the game and what to expect. Some questions can be very ambiguous. I think sometimes, it's only movie based, and sometimes knowing things outside the movies will help you know answers, because a lot of questions, the harder ones, you can only find the answers in the visual dictionaries. So,
okay. So it's not necessarily just something that's on the screen. It's still just like, hey, the model of that Star Destroyer is, they didn't say it, but you're going to need to know what it is.
right. So maybe there's a character and you don't remember, or you have no idea what their species is from the movies. But when you watch the TV shows or when you read the books, you meet a character of that species and then connect it. So the material can really help, and it can help with guessing at certain things. But Schmodown is really focused, essentially, if you just study the dialogue of the films and everything that happens in the films and everything ever in the visual dictionary. I mean, every character. I think in the most recent match that Alex Damon and Andrew DeMolanta were in, the final question was, who was the head of the clone trooper group that killed Stas Ali, right? You're only going to know that if you look it up on Wikipedia or if it's in a visual dictionary.
But it actually did happen in the movie.
Right. So
yeah. Oh, man. That's just like a world where it's just, like, I know a few things about Star Wars, more than the man on the street, but Alex and Laura and those guys, they're operating on another level. Like you probably see it much more firsthand than I do. You probably, I don't see all the matches or anything, but like, do you kind of, because you being around it, you probably go like, I could have a good crack at this. I could have a rumble, but you're kind of like, nah, it's just there's too much work involved. It's too hard.
Yeah, I've been asked a few times if I wanted to hop in on it, and it is too much work. I think at one point, maybe 2 years ago, I would have been all on board, or 2.5 years ago, I'd have been so down. But it's just too much work, and I'm lazy.
You got things to do. You got like Wedding in 90 Days to watch or whatever it is, and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I've got that, and then
where's that quiz?
Job. And quiz me on that. I follow the Reddit subs. I'm down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very entertaining to me, or pretty much anything on Bravo, or about half the things on Bravo I can tell you about. But
we'll save that for the other podcast.
Fair enough. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and again, a big part of it is knowing how to play the game and how they ask questions, because some of them, they're just worded oddly, and you have to know, based on previous matches, what it is they're really getting at.
Yeah. God.
Little funky.
It's too much. It's too much. It's making my brain hurt just thinking about it. Thanks for coming on. Like, absolute pleasure. We had a few little technical hiccups in the background here. You won't know that. It's seamless, but Alice, in a professional way, is like, it's all good, man. Don't worry about it. Let's just roll with it. It's no problem, which is awesome. And hopefully, Celebration 2021 we'll get to hang out properly.
Ooh.
And have a beer. And 2022, yeah, shit, sorry.
Oof.
We're already in 2021. I keep thinking that's the year after. I'm like, oh, it's actually only a year away now. It doesn't feel so bad than when they're saying it's 2 years away.
A wise decision, nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. Tell everybody about your podcast, what you get up to, what you're all about, where they can find you, all that stuff.
This is
in as
normally
little or as much detail as possible.
Yeah, I'll give it a whirl because this is normally Laura's job. So
Oh, right. Well, there you go. This is what happens when you fly solo. You just like, she does the guitar solos normally, and you just, sit back and look over, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I've got to do the guitar solo. It's just me.
yeah, it's guessing. Well, no, I know where to find us.
Oh, so you know what it's called, at least, Just
Yes. So our full podcast is Force Toast, a Star Wars happy hour. Laura and I like to drink wine or beer, cocktails, and talk about anything Star Wars, any news we can magically find. We do recaps, trivia every episode because we met doing bar trivia around Chicago. And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Force Toast Pod, our website, forcetoastpod.com, where you will find this episode under the guest spots tab. And also email us. We're on Gmail, forcetoastpod@gmail.com.
Look at that. Perfect.
Nailed it.
You nailed that solo. That was like the solo from Beat It or something, like absolutely nailed it one take. No problems. What about you personally, if anyone wants to follow you on Twitter, if you want to be nice?
Sure.
No idiots, just be nice.
I got it. Yep. I am at Leia all day. So Leia with an S. I was inspired by Leslie Jones saying slay all day at the last Summer Olympics. So that's where we are.
Slay all day.
Yes.
That's basically how it went. Yeah. I followed Leslie Jones on Twitter for ages, but then she started posting like spoilers to stuff like Game of Thrones, and I had to mute her. I probably should unmute her, really, because she's like, no, don't do that. Yeah. I just watched her in Coming to America 2 last night. So.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
The Olympics coming to Australia again in 2032, apparently. To Brisbane, of all places. Come over and hang.
I will.
If you can get out.
Can you schedule me in?
Yeah, I'll book you in. I don't live in Brisbane, but we'll work it out. We'll work out the detailed celebration. Thanks so much, Alyce. An awesome time, as always. Hopefully it won't take this long again to get you on. But again, we'll hang out in the California sun in a year and a bit. Have a cool time. Thanks everybody for listening. Just go to StarWarsSpeltOut.com. Everything's there. Twitter, merch, all that kind of nonsense. Awesome. Thank you, Alyce. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. See ya.
Bye.